Hello, and welcome to the No Wrong Notes podcast, a show hosted by me, Veronica Kokos, holistic voice teacher and singer just like you. Grab a cup of tea, relax, and sit back as we discuss all things singing technique, mindset tips, and more so you can show up as the most confident and creative singer you can be. Hi friends, how are we doing this week? I hope that y'all are hanging in there. I'm sending y'all good vibes. Things have been kind of busy over here, just teaching a lot, which is so fun. I'm glad to work with all of the different singers that I get to work with each and every week. It's always so fun. But I know that there is a lot going on out there in the world, and so I hope you're staying well, sending y'all lots of good energy. Today's episode is kind of more of a rant, or it's kind of what I would like to call a quickie episode. And with these episodes, these are kind of on the shorter side. I know that I do a lot of my solo episodes a little bit shorter, just because I like to get to the point, you guys. I don't like to ramble. That might sound silly. I mean, I'm rambling right now, but I really do like to get to the point with a lot of the content that I give you guys. I don't like to talk around things. I like to get straight to it. And this episode, this quickie, was inspired by questions that I get, questions that I've gotten from my students lately, questions that I've gotten from new students too. I've gotten questions like, can I actually learn how to do a lot of this stuff that we do in voice lessons? Can you learn it from the internet? And I get so many questions about this, and I think it's interesting because I think about any other skill that, maybe we can learn, that we have access to. Like I think of running, for example. And while I have been running now for, I guess, almost a year and a half, like I ran in high school and just started running again as an adult, I think of that, for example. And like, while I do get some useful information on the internet, when it comes to like different mobility exercises that can complement my running, different strength training exercises I can use outside of my running, things I can do to improve my running form, stuff like that. While I think that that is helpful, I think that there's only so much that I can do just watching something on social media, if that makes sense. So it's like, we think about all these other skills like running, or like, for example, I have a student that knits a lot, and like obviously that's a very hands-on activity, and there's only so much that you can learn from watching a video online. I think the same thing goes for singing, because it can be hard to discern what is accurate. There's so much content out there, and there's only so much that you can take away from what you see on Instagram, what you see on TikTok, what you see on YouTube. But the question remains, can you learn how to sing from social media? Yes and no. As I was just sharing in my own skills and the things that I do outside of singing, I can learn some basics, and you can learn some basics from the internet, from social media. You can learn some basic singing skills because there are a lot of good teachers out there sharing valuable content. But when trying to see if the info that you're being presented is legitimate, it's also worth looking into who is sharing this content. Do they have degrees or certifications? While degrees aren't everything, in this day and age, if someone is going around sharing info on The Voice but has zero credentials and zero explanation to back up their claims, I am skeptical. And that might be controversial because, like I said, degrees aren't everything. And I know that, you can learn a lot in just voice lessons with a teacher. But I mean, I look back on my own education, getting my undergrad in vocal performance, where I'm taking music classes. I had to take a vocal pedagogy class where you learn how the voice works, how it functions. That isn't something that you can just get from working with a voice teacher. I mean, I'm sorry, like, yes, you get some of that from working with a voice teacher, but really going in depth and understanding how to teach, I learned those things in classes that I took in college from a program. And like I said, you don't need a degree in this day and age to teach voice lessons. I know that maybe some voice teachers would disagree with that. There are alternative certification programs, though, that are out there, like IVA. That's the first one that comes to mind. I know like some other programs that are out there. IVA is probably the one that I think has like some of the most thorough instruction when it comes to vocal pedagogy and how to teach voice. But yeah, I think that if you're going to be learning from somebody, no matter what it is, like, okay, for me, for example, I run a lot and I'm always looking to sort of get better and get faster. I'm not just going to get info from Joe Blow on the internet. Like, I'm not just going to get info on like how to improve my pace from some rando that showed up on my For You page. I'm going to look at who is sharing this content. If it's just some rando that just runs and that's their qualifications, I'm sorry, no, I'm not going to maybe use some of that information. I might test it out, but it's like, I might be a little skeptical. But for example, I'm preparing for a half marathon in the fall. When I was looking around, shopping around some different training programs, I was going to, okay, who are the top coaches out there that have training plans that I can use? And these are coaches that, have been runners, have been coaching running for decades, like 20, 30, 40 years. I mean, it's like these are experts in the field. And, I think that the concept of expertise in this day and age, I know that that's sometimes frowned upon by people, where it's like, oh, well, they're an expert, but it's like, how good are they really? And like, how much can you really know? And it's like, there's a reason why we go to school, why we go to college, to learn these things. We are learning skills. I learned all these skills to be a voice teacher. But yeah, just, taking some discernment to what you're consuming online, whoever you're learning from, whether you're actually taking lessons or just consuming content online. The person you're learning from should know the how of why a certain technique works. They should understand and be able to explain the science of how something is happening. Most colleges and universities, even teacher certification programs like IVA that I mentioned, go over this information with teachers like myself. And if a teacher can't back up what they're saying with evidence, it's worth being skeptical. So, not saying you have to be the most skeptical Sally out there. like I said, there is some good information that's being presented out there online. But, like I was saying, the teacher should be able to back it up with evidence. Now, going back to my main point. Yes, you can learn some basics from teachers online. But there are also limitations to what content creators can do online, no matter what sort of certification or experience level that teacher has. Us teachers are content creators on platforms like Instagram and TikTok, and we simply cannot address every single individual person's voice. We cannot diagnose what's happening to your specific voice without hearing you sing. This is where limitations to what social media can do come in. And I mean, I think back to the whole bean soup debacle on TikTok. I think that happened a couple years ago, but it was like a bean soup recipe that this content creator was presenting, and someone had commented, well, what if I don't like beans? And it's like, well, you just need a different recipe. Use a different recipe. It's like, we can only, as content creators, we make content, and in making content, we can't address every single specific situation. We can't always provide nuance. So, going back to the voice, if you want exercises that are personalized to you, it's worth investing in training. I mean, I get messages and comments all the time on social media like, I'm having this issue, what do you think it is? And I can only make an educated guess without hearing you sing. But if a teacher like me is hearing you sing, we can work on your vocal challenges in real time. Because like I said, there's only so much that I can do, so much that other teachers can do when people are commenting things on our content on social media. We can only make an educated guess as to what's going on. So yes, you can learn some basic skills online, but it's not the whole enchilada. If you want to make real progress in your singing, your voice is worth investing in. either through lessons, a course, or a membership like my Curious Singer membership, which is enrolling new members. You can check that out at the link in the show description. All right, that's it for this week's episode. If you liked this episode, leave a 5-star rating and review, pretty please. It helps more people discover the show. If you want more singing content, follow me on social media. That's also linked in the show description. And in the meantime, happy singing, y'all.